Hi, Darren Gabbard here with your Best Horse Relationship. Welcome. In this episode, I would like to utilize a quote from Johan Wolfgang von Goethe. He's a 18th and 19th century German philosopher, statesman. I think he was even a poet. And he has a lot of great quotes. And the one that I used one a couple of years ago. And a couple of years ago, that quote went, "A man sees reflected in the world what he carries in his heart." And I thought that was a great quote for us as horse owners because it's analogous to the understanding of our horse's mirror. That our horse is going to reflect back to us what he sees in us, what he sees in our heart. And if we don't like what we see in our horse, we have to change something inside of us in order to affect that picture, in order to affect that reflection. And in this particular episode, the quote that I want to use of Goethe's is, "Correction does much, but encouragement does more." And I love that quote. In fact, I think it's so important that as horse owners, we should probably tattoo it in a prominent spot on our body so that we see it each and every day that we go out to see our horse. And the reason that this quote is so important is that it really cuts to the heart of one of the biggest challenges that we have as humans in developing a better relationship with our horse. And that challenge is that we tend to treat our horse by default the way we treat other humans. And we should, in fact, treat our horse the way we treat other horses. And so when we use correction, we typically use correction in a way that is appropriate for humans, but not so much with horses. And we actually should use encouragement first, or that should be our first option. Now, when we, as humans, correct each other, there's typically two phases to it. If somebody is doing, if they're going off in this direction and they're doing something that they shouldn't, typically what we do as humans is we come along and we say, "Stop, don't, no." And we shut it down right then and there. And then the second phase is that we point whoever is going off in this direction in the right direction. Rather than do this, you should be doing that. And for us as humans, that makes sense. Because we use logic, we use language, we use reason, and it all fits together reasonably nicely. But when we're dealing with horses, that kind of approach causes confusion, and here's why. When we ask our horse to do something, our horse will do what he thinks he's supposed to be doing. It may not be what we want. And if our horse is going off in this direction and we say, "Stop, don't, no," if we engage in that first phase of the correction that we normally would with humans and we say, "Stop, don't, no," what that does is it causes the horse to go, "Whoa, wait a minute, what was wrong? You asked me to do something and I was doing something." Right? So that's going to start causing confusion right off the bat. And then when we move to that second phase, as humans, we think, well, it's just going to be easy enough for us to tell our horse, "Not in that direction, we want you to go in this direction. I want you to do this instead." But the problem there is that our horse doesn't speak our language. And as humans, we speak a very poor horse. And so there's going to be more confusion. We go right from the "stop, don't, no," that abrupt cancellation, into saying, "Go over here and do this." And the horse is going, wait a minute, I thought I was doing what you wanted. And so when this happens on a consistent basis, when we go "stop, don't, no," and we use that correction, it causes the confusion, which then leads to a loss of confidence in our horse. And that's not what we want. And sadly, that's what I did with Cookie for years. Especially when she was young and just learning. And the thing was, she was so smart that if she started to go off in the wrong direction, I thought that she was just being willful, and I would go "Stop, don't, no." And then I would immediately say, "No, go over here in this direction," and it caused confusion. And what happened was, I did it with such consistency. I interrupted her with such consistency, and I said, "Stop, don't, no," that she lost confidence in herself, she lost confidence in me, and she lost confidence in my leadership. And it created quite a gap in our relationship, and that's not what I was after. And certainly I don't want that. I don't think that that's what you are after either. So correction, while it does much, oftentimes does much more than we want for it to do. So let's take a look at the other half of this, encouragement. Right? Encouragement is where we need to live as horse owners. Encouragement should be our first option 99.9% of the time, because it's what our horse is looking for and it's what works best with our horse, both in terms of our tools, techniques, and training, as well as for our relationship. Now let me give you a quick analogy or an analogous situation to what might happen with your horse and from your horse's perspective with the idea of correction. Right? Remember that especially when horses are young or when we're teaching them something new, they don't really understand what they're supposed to do, and they try things and it may not be right, and they may not get it right all the time. And it's very similar to, let's say, a young child who's just learning how to tie his shoes. Right? Sometimes he's going to work, sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not going to work, sometimes he's going to tie his shoelaces into a knot and you have to undo those. But eventually he will understand what is needed and he'll be able to provide it without really any kind of drama. But let's say that you and your child are going someplace and your kid has tied his shoes and you look down and you notice that one of the shoes is tied but the other shoe is untied. Now from the horse's perspective, this is what it looks like when we use correction. Hey, how come you didn't tie your shoelace the right way? How come one shoe is tied and the other shoe is not? I know you know how to tie your shoe. You're just not doing it because you don't respect me. And boy, you're going to respect me. You're just being disrespectful. That's not the way we would do it, is it? At least I hope that's not the way we would respond to a small child. But that from the child's perspective, if we're going like this and we're correcting our child, oh, you better respect me. I know you're doing this just because you don't want to do it, because you're lazy. You're obstinate, you're stubborn. Oh, if we approach our child like that, are they going to want to tie their shoelaces, right, in the future? Or are they going to shy away from trying to tie their shoelaces? Now, rather than correcting our child or correcting our horse, how about if we use a little encouragement? And let's say that we look down and the child has one shoe tied and one shoe untied. You say, hey, buddy, how about if you give that another shot? It looks like the one shoe is not tied. And you give him an option. You ask him to tie the shoelace again. And if he doesn't quite get it, then you bend down, you help him out, and you say, hey, it goes like this. You do this and that over there, and you pull these two tight, and then that's your shoelace, and we'll work on it later. Right? That's encouragement. And that's how I hope we would work with our children, and certainly that's how we should work with our horse. Not with the correction, but with the open hand of encouragement. Now, this would be a great place to stop, right? If we were just talking about not using correction but using encouragement with our horse, that would be good enough. But there's another little bit of genius in the way Goethe talks about this choice, the choice of either correction, if you will, or encouragement. And it's what he doesn't say that's really important. He says that correction does much, but encouragement does more, and he gives us the choice. And he implies that the choice is ours to make and that we have to make that choice. It's going to be one or the other. And that we're going to have to live with that choice. But you notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't tell us which one to choose. Right? And that's going to be one of the cornerstones of our ability to develop a strong relationship with our horse, is being able to choose and choose wisely. All right, so how do we choose between correction, which does much, or actually, let me put it this way, correction, which does much, and encouragement, which does more? Well, for us as horse owners and for humans who are trying to develop the best possible relationship with our horse, the choice is what's best for our horse. Right? Goethe is telling us that both options will probably get done what we need to get done, but why would we choose this over this with our horse? Whenever we go out to see our horse, each and every day that we go out to see our horse, we're probably going to be faced with these kinds of options, this or that. And we are going to have to make that choice as to which one is the better option, which one is going to help me get to my goal of having a better relationship with my horse fastest, the easiest, with the best quality. Right? Well, it's not going to be this. It's going to be this. It's going to be the open hand of encouragement. Right? It's just it's a genius way of instilling that idea in us to give us the choice, but not tell us which one to choose. Now, I am going to choose. I'm going to tell you exactly which one to choose. You want to choose the encouragement rather than the correction. It will get you where you want to go. In terms of tools, techniques, and training, it will probably the encouragement will get you there faster. But as humans, we tend to go for the correction because we think it's going to get us what we want quicker. Because in the human world, it does, or it might. Let's put it that way. But when we engage in correction with our horse, we are oftentimes going in exactly the opposite direction of where we want to go. So we need to use that encouragement. Correction does much, but encouragement does more. And it does more of what we want and more of what we're after. So that's the choice that we need to make. So whenever we're faced with a choice, either this or that, choose the option that helps develop and strengthen your relationship, making the relationship that you have with your horse better today than it was yesterday and stronger today than it was last week. You know, it's simple when you think about it in those terms, isn't it? Well, I guess that's about it. Let's wrap this up. If you have liked this episode, if you've gotten something from it, what I would ask is that you share it in some fashion. And until next time, as always, go love on your horse, and we'll see you back here. Bye-bye.